said, today's webinar will be about progressive web apps and Drupal theming. So this webinar is mainly hosted by Valuebound. So we're a Drupal company specializing mostly in Drupal, and we've also expanded our services to AWS, Stack, etc. We're mainly based in Bangalore, and we always hope to provide the best to our clients and whoever who seeks our services. Today, I'm your speaker. My name is Sidharth. I have 1 year of experience, mostly in Drupal development, and I'll be taking you through this journey. So the first thing we need to tackle are what are progressive web apps exactly. So what progressive web apps actually are is that they're kind of a combination of what we can call traditional web applications and native mobile applications. So traditional web applications are those applications which are directly viewable only through your browser, meaning that they are mostly and only discoverable through a URL. They're not going to be native on your operating system. Native mobile apps are more of your typical mobile applications. So those that can be downloaded from the App Store or from the Google Play Store for iOS or Android. PWAs seek to combine the best of both worlds by making it so that a native mobile application can be accessible to your browser, or you can deploy a lightweight kind of version of it on the App Store or on the Google Play Store. So PWAs, as you can see here, they're built mostly using standard web technologies which you would be used to, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some type of backend framework. But they also incorporate additional features to enhance performance, usability, and also offline capabilities. So let's tackle the question of how exactly do they differ from traditional and native applications. So the first point I would like to bring up is installation and accessibility. So as I said before, traditional apps are mostly discoverable only through the URL or only through your browser. Um, what progressive web apps can do and what they seek to do is that, as I said before, you can deploy kind of a lightweight version of it on any app store that you want. So it can live in both worlds, you could say. You could say it lives in the browser and it can be discoverable through a URL, or you can have it native to your device, to your local mobile device. Then there's offline capabilities. So what offline capabilities basically means is that, if I give an example, if you take any kind of native mobile application, you will see that even though you might have a low network strength, or if you are offline, there will be some features that are still accessible to you. Like you will be able to access some type of cache API or some type of already saved content, if you please. So progressive web apps seek to kind of implement this feature where a user does not only have to rely on the strength of his network to access the website as a whole or access the web application as a whole. Then there is increased performance benefits. So in the process of you defining your PWA and making it so that it's progressive, you'll be able to use a wide variety of techniques to make the performance of your application better overall. So you will be mostly focusing on responsive design, you could say. There'll be a lot of kind of efficient caching strategies and efficient caching techniques that you will employ so that your application can run smoothly. And there's also kind of small tricks that you can use, like lazy loading for images, that will make your website more smoother and more reliable. Then there's access to device features. So if your application only lives in the browser, then there's kind of a limited access to your device's hardware. So you might have noticed that some websites ask for access to your microphone or access to some type of sensor on your system. Native apps, what they do is that they make sure that they can use your device's hardware to its fullest potential, meaning that you don't have to kind of rely on settling for using half the performance or half the available features of your device. You can use it fully. So PWA seeks to incorporate that feature from native mobile applications. Uh, the availability and the use of all your device features. Then there's distribution and discoverability. So in terms of SEO, a traditional web application which lives in the browser is obviously better because your URL is shareable and it can be picked up on SEO engines. Since PWAs offer the use of, you can say, the browser or your native application being available to the browser, that means the SEO benefits which are associated with them also becomes true for PWAs. Now, here's some few points on implementing a PWA for your Drupal website. The first thing you would want to do is that you would want to choose a particular PWA module or distribution. I'll be showing that soon, a very useful PWA module on Drupal.org. Then you would want to implement service workers. So what service workers basically are is that they are kind of like small JavaScript scripts that run in the background of your application. And what these service workers actually do is that they define some behavior for when the network is low or if you're offline, and they implement some caches that will be used to serve up content or serve up responses in those cases. I'll be showing that. I'll be showing the basic structure of a service worker file coming up soon as well. Then responsive design. So since if you're making a progressive web app, you will have to handle the case of the user having your application only on their mobile. So they will not be able to view the application on a wide screen. So like to handle these types of cases, you need to fully focus on responsive design, and you need to make sure that your application is smooth when it comes to the mobile view. Then you would also want to implement something called app shell architecture. So what this basically means is that what app shell architecture does is that it separates the content, or it separates the APIs which fetch the content from the user interface. The modules of PWA which are available to Drupal help implement this architecture in your actual application. Then push notifications. So you all would have noticed that for apps on your phone, they give kind of notifications periodically to indicate some update or to indicate some type of new feature, etc. So JavaScript actually provides kind of some APIs so that you can create your own push notifications, and you can utilize those so that you can implement it in your application. Then the final step would be obviously making sure that the app works well on both the browser and on the devices. So for that, there's a wide variety of browser tools and developer tools that you can use to make sure your PWA runs smoothly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you an example of a service worker file. So here I've just created a small service worker JavaScript file. I'll just be giving you the basic skeleton structure, you could say. First, you define the cache name. So this is kind of a unique name that the application will use when you're kind of discovering the... Sorry, someone's mic is open. Do you have any questions?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, going on. So cache name is basically a kind of unique name that the application will use when trying to fetch this particular service worker file. And cache URLs are basically those contents which you want to serve up. So as I said before, in the case of being offline or in the case of low network, what I'm doing in this case is that I'm caching these particular endpoints so that they can be available to the user in those cases. So here you can see kind of some event listeners. These are essential event listeners that will be used in any service worker file. So I've just included them here. First is the install event listener. So what this does is that it basically adds to this cache. So cache is a local variable In this case, it is available to the entire service worker file. And it adds all these URLs to the particular cache over here. Then activate runs when the script is first called. What this does is that it basically makes sure that the cache is up to date, and any previous caches that are there have to be deleted. So here you can see that it's just checking through the caches. It's checking for this particular cache name, and all the caches that are existing, which are not this cache name, it's deleting, so that it makes sure that all the, you can say, context of this particular file is up to date, and it won't be relying on any kind of old data. Then this is the main one, which is the fetch event listener. So what this does is that, as I said before, let's say the user is offline or he doesn't have access to a strong internet connection. What it does is that first it gets the type of request, and then what it does is it matches the request, like in terms of the key and value, it matches it with the particular value and the particular resource it should serve up. So over here, yeah, it's matching the event request. And then it's taking this response, and over here, we're just checking what type of request it is. And what we're doing is that we're basically putting it inside the browser or inside the interface so that it responds with it. Here you can see we're cloning the network response, and it will be served up to the user regardless of how strong his internet connection is or whether he's online or offline. And also over here, we have a special case. If, let's say, your application is reliant on internet connection because it needs to fetch some external data or something, or it needs to fetch, or it needs to call some external API. In that case, if the user is fully offline, then he should not be able to access whatever data that is reliant on those external APIs. So over here, what it does is that it basically returns offline.html, which would be basically a small kind of error page, which shows that the application. Yeah. So offline.html would be kind of a small error page, which will show that the application requires some type of internet service so that it can reach those external kind of APIs. Now there's something called the Drupal PWA module. So this module is available on drupal.org. Here you can see that it is available for Drupal 10, I believe, I think the latest version, right? 2.0.0 RC2. So this can be used for any Drupal version. And what this module basically does once you install it is that it gives you this configuration page, and you'll be able to make whatever service worker, whatever kind of cache you want on the UI itself. So this comes under configuration, under web services, under progressive web app, once you install and extend this module. And I'll just explain over here. There's something called a manifest. So what manifest actually is that it's a small JSON file, which kind of defines how your application should behave once it is in a native kind of device. So here you can see we defined a web app name, the start URL, the scope, the description of our progressive web app. You can also select specific theme colors for if your mobile application wants to run locally. You can select background colors. And over here, the image is actually your application icon. So when you view it on your mobile device, what icon do you want it to take place over there? And here in this tab, you can define service workers. So URLs to cache on install, you can define it over here. Then the URLs to exclude. So all those URLs which should not be available to the user. The offline pages endpoint. And and a skip waiting option. Then you have some extra options over here. Here it just has some Apple and iOS specific settings. So touch icons, meta tags, and some home screen icons which are specific to iOS. And over here, I have the language module kind of installed on this particular website. So it defines some translation configurations, which you can use in your native application as well. So these are some benefits of PWAs. The first is that it provides your users with an app-like experience. So all of the animations, all of the gestures, and all of the sort of iconic kind of gestures associated with mobile applications. You can include it right there in the browser itself, and you can increase the engagement and the usability for your users in the browser itself. Then there's lower development and maintenance costs. So what developers will usually do is that they will first make a website and then they will spend additional effort or additional resources on developing an application or a separate application. So by combining these two with the use of progressive web apps, what you can do is that you can lower the effort and you can lower the time, and you can kind of get the best of both worlds by developing one single application that is flexible on both the browser and the mobile devices. Then, as I said before, improved SEO and shareability. Since it is still available on the browser, your URL is shareable and it is able to be picked on by the SEO engines. Then there's lower friction for users. So for applications, they don't have to go like directly into the App Store or into the Play Store and download it separately. And then they have to kind of keep a check on both the separate website and the separate application. You can avoid all this and you can make it easier for your users by having one combined application. Then there's a reduced storage space. So for PWAs, because of all the caching that they use and because the PWA that you implement will mostly be a lightweight kind of version of your application, you can reduce the storage space and you can reduce the stress for your users in terms of their device. So some of the conclusions we've gotten from this, we learned what a PWA is, and we learned how it differs from traditional and native mobile applications. We saw a basic structure of a skeleton. We saw the basic skeleton structure of a service worker file, and we also saw the PWA module. And we also got to learn some benefits about PWAs and how they can improve your development efforts. So that's it from my side. Are there any questions?
No, I'm good. Anyone has any question?
One is what is the limitation of this? If suppose if this is can it be replaced the apps which we are using?
So one limitation of this, you could say, is that, so I'll give you an example. There's something called Twitter Lite. Have you heard about that?
Yes, like Facebook, like it's a light version of
Yeah, so that's actually a progressive web application. It's kind of a lightweight version of the main Twitter application. And you can say, like, in terms of practicality, if you have a progressive web app version of your website, um, you won't be burning a lot of time into redefining the entire kind of structure of your website. You'll be mostly limiting it to the main kind of APIs that you use and mostly like the more essential stuff. So in that sense, like PWS do not reach the full capability of a completely full-fledged mobile application, but they do offer like some type of native accessibility for your users. Anyone else?
Hi, Soman. It's Gopis here. You discuss about push notification earlier in the second or third slide, and over there, you have just discussed basic idea like we can push up, provide a notification to the end user, but it's basically a website. So how are we doing it, and how can we do it? Like it's different from Android or we can say the iOS. We can just trigger a push notification from the server and it will be done. But can you just provide some practicality about it, like how can it be done for the developer's perspective?
Yeah, so I'm sure you would have noticed that for browser applications also, there is the ability for them to kind of give notifications out on your laptop or on your mobile device. That is a possibility.
Okay, so it's kind of like basically the website notification, not the
Yeah, it is
that
website
app
notifications.
only.
Yeah,
Okay.
because obviously for push notifications, if you have it running in the browser, if you have it running on your mobile, you won't be able to generate like a kind of, how can I say, like you won't be able to generate the same type of push notification that you would get from Twitter or Facebook. It will just be a normal website notification. Like only if you go for the native kind of app development. So how this kind of works is that once you have developed your PWA in Drupal, you will wrap it in kind of a PWA wrapper, and through that it will be pushed to the App Store. And this PWA wrapper will give you kind of the API tools necessary to create custom push notifications and that kind of thing. So yeah, through that, once you have put it into the mobile devices, once you have ported the app over, you can create the push notifications that like you would be used to from Facebook or Twitter. Is that clear at all, Mukesh?
Yep. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Hi Sidharth, Anup is here.
Yeah.
So, can we generate PWA to APK file to upload on Play Store? That
Yeah,
PWA?
yeah. So like as I said, the process is that once you have while you are developing your PWA application, there's a few frameworks which are PWA wrappers. I think it's Concord or something like that. What they do is that like they'll help generate that kind of APK file once your development is complete, and they give all the tools and all the APIs that you would require if you are pushing your app to the Play Store or on the iOS store. So yeah, through that you can upload it or you can push it to whatever kind of store.
Okay, fine.
That was a very helpful session actually. Thank you.
Yes.
So anyone else? Atul, you can stop the recording. Okay, so I guess that's it. If anyone wants to reach me, if anyone has any additional doubts or any additional questions, um, my email is available on the Valuebound website under this webinars page. So yeah, looking forward to hearing from all of you, and feel